Every once in a while, a prolific artist doesn't get nearly the recognition they deserve in their lifetime. Sometimes it takes years or even decades for people to figure out what they've been missing. If you don't know about Nick Drake, then let me show you what you and I, for all these years, have been missing. His song, Riverman, is one of the most hauntingly beautiful things I think I have ever heard. And it sounds like this. I don't know if you noticed already, and I'm gonna let this play a little bit, but I just have to point out the fact that, first of all, we're in 5/4. And what's fascinating to me about that is that we're actually in 5/4 in exactly the same way that 10 years earlier in 1959, Dave Brubeck released one of the most famous 5/4 recordings ever. Dave Brubeck's Take 5 is definitely one of the most famous 5/4 recordings of all time, and part of the reason that it is because it makes 5/4 just sort of feel like 4/4. And what I mean by that is it makes 5/4 feel shockingly natural. Like, we don't listen to it and think, oh, this is an odd time signature that is unusual for us to count in. We simply listen to it and we go, this sounds great, right? And it's partially the way that Dave Brubeck and Paul Desmond, who actually wrote the tune, it's the way that they split it up. It's the way that the accents fall that sort of, I think, makes this feel so natural. It goes like this. If we have a single measure of 5/4, we just have 5 beats. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If we count straight through, we have to count to 5 every single time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that can be boring, and that can be actually be hard for us to keep track of because we're not typically used to counting in odd meter. But the way that this was accented, it actually made it feel much more normal, like it could be in 3, a waltz feel almost, which we're very used to, or even just in 4. It looked like this. We have an accent on 1, we skip 2 and instead put an accent in between on the and of 2, so we get 1, 2, and then we hit 3, and we have accents on 4 and 5. And so it sounds like 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5. That's how we wind up with... Now, I tell you about Dave Brubeck and Paul Desmond to tell you this about Riverman. It's the same rhythm. It's the same way to divide up a 5/4 measure. It's just much slower and much more relaxed, but it's doing the same thing. Check it out. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 1. It even has the swung 8th note. It's perfect. And it makes it feel so natural. You almost don't even notice that it's in 5/4. That's the first brilliant thing about this song, the first of many. And then the second is the way the harmony goes. This is a 4-chord pop song, except it's not a 4-chord pop song. It's something very different. It's a 4-chord progression that you would never expect as a 4-chord progression. Let's take a listen and see what's actually happening.
Betty came by on her way, said she had a word to say about things today and fallen leaves.
That's it. That's the whole song. It just goes around and around and around. The melody doesn't really change and the chords don't really change, but they are hauntingly beautiful. They're so mesmerizing. Let's take a look at what's actually going on there. When we started out the song, we were just sitting on this beautiful C major chord, C major with an add 9, right? It looks like that, okay? The 9 we're referring to is actually, you could consider this a 2, right? But we usually call it add 9 because we're thinking of it as though we're building up 2 at 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and we're simply adding that 9 to our root position triad. So we have this C major add 9 chord, but before the vocals come in, all of a sudden we just switch over to C minor add 9, and that's where the vocals start. So we sit on C minor for the first bit, and Then we move somewhere very unexpected for a 4-chord progression. We go, normally when we talk about 4-chord progressions, we would expect C major, then maybe the 5 chord, the minor 6 chord, the 4 chord. Maybe we do it, we switch those around a little bit. 1 chord, minor 6 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord. There's so many different variations of the 4-chord pop chord progression. But when we talk about 4-chord progressions, we're very rarely talking about things like this, where the first chord is a minor chord moving, of all places, to an E flat 7 chord. This is the first thing that's like, whoa, where are we going? What is this? But then it actually perfectly resolves. This is a 5 chord of where we're going, which is A flat, 5-1 resolution, right? The most compelling resolution in music, okay? And so we end up on A flat major. And this is where I think this song gets so much of its beauty. From here, we don't quite know where we're gonna go, but all we do is we drop it right back to C major. So we've started on C minor for the first part of the vocals, and then by the time we work our way around, we get back to C, but now it's major. It's this like haunting, mesmerizing, mysterious emergence of just sheer beauty when we land on that C major. And that's it. The whole song is going to go around and around on this chord progression. And the way the melody works with it is just even more beautiful. But like, listen to that once more.
Betty came by on her way.
There's our E flat
Said she
dominant
had a
chord,
word to say
releasing to the A flat major,
about things today.
and then finally landing on C major with an S. We're just gonna go right back to C minor.
Said she hadn't heard the news.
Listen to that first melodic phrase. It repeats itself throughout most of the verses. There's no chorus of this song. It's just this. You know, that's our first melodic phrase. Okay, so we play around with the 5-4, 5-4, but really the bulk of this phrase is the 5 up to the 1. That's sort of the anchor of that phrase. Now let's listen to the next phrase.
Hadn't had the time to choose.
We get some variation of this each time we come around. This time it was, but I think we also hear like, right? Centering around that B flat as the new addition that we didn't hear in the first phrase. And that's of course over the E flat dominant chord. What comes next? Over A flat major.
Way to lose.
Oh, I love how this line is so simple. That's it. Every time around, it's just that. And then we round the whole thing off in the most fascinating way.
But she believes.
We get another 5 up to the 1, but it's an octave lower than we started the melody at, and it's much more reserved. Think about that melodic structure. We have 4 distinct phrases, right? It starts with this statement. We enter with this sort of more authoritative phrase of 5-1. It's very powerful. It's a very powerful interval, right? And then we kind of go, well, maybe. This feels like a little more of a question. And then we hit our A flat major chord and we sort of become a little more pensive. That almost feels like a, well, right? And then we finally get a quiet resolution. So the whole thing, not only is it coming down melodically, just purely from these are the highest notes, starts getting lower, lower, and then lowest. The 4 phrases descend melodically, but they also descend dynamically, right? We have more of a statement, more of a question, and then a little bit more pensive, and then finally a quiet resolution. It's so beautiful, it's so simple, and it's so impactful, especially when paired with this harmony. And then, as we go around the next time, we get the addition of these incredible strings.
Gonna see the riverman.
Very simple.
Gonna tell him
At first, we don't have much going on. We're keeping the strings very simple, beautifully orchestrated.
about the plan. For light time.
That's it. Very simple. We go around another
If he tells
time,
me all he knows
still keeping the strings pretty simple.
about the
Nothing has
ways
changed.
river flows, an all-night show.
Now this, listen to this.
Summertime.
Something very interesting is going on right there. We have now taken our simple C major add 9 chord and we've added something to it. We've added the sharp 11, okay, or a sharp 4, right? But we've added another note too, and you almost miss it if you're not listening closely enough. But in the guitar, we hear the dominant 7th as well. This is what's fascinating. Now, if we take a regular major scale, we can make some alterations to arrive at the sound. First we changed out our 4 for a sharp 4. Now, if we just did that alone, that would be the Lydian mode. It's a major scale with a raised 4th. But that's not all we did. Instead, we take our 7th and we make it flat. So now we have this mode is a variation of Lydian. We call this mode Lydian dominant. Lydian dominant. It's a beautiful sound and it's inherently super mysterious. Something about the combination of notes here is it's beautiful. And if it was without that flat 7, it would be just ethereal, right? But it would feel pretty grounded. But instead, by adding that flat 7th, we introduce another layer that I feel is just mysterious. And so this is beautifully using that. And then we get a string interlude that goes to the A flat. And just simply back and forth from the C, add 9 to the A flat. And this is the only variation on that 4-chord progression that we get in the entire thing. Then we're gonna flip it back minor again and go back into more vocals. But now the strings are building up. We're now using more clusters up here in the strings. There's more activity going on in the strings. They're becoming more present in the mix, right? In the orchestration. Now we're starting to get melody in the strings. Oh.
She lost the pain.
Here's what I love about this song. Nick Drake's vocals don't really go anywhere. They're kind of doing the same thing, this sort of very, very melancholy, mellow, pensive style of delivery throughout the entire thing. We haven't changed that really at all. And in fact, dynamic-wise, he's kind of not doing much. So how do we build up the song? And the way that we've done that is through orchestration. We've done that through adding layers. We started with the strings down here. Very subtle, very simple, right? And then when we came back in after the string interlude, now we're up here, now we're adding more stuff, right? As we go around the chord progression, we're adding more stuff to it. And then we go around for a final time where we're building and building and building. And now the strings have like counter melodies. There's inner voice movement going on. There's so much more activity in the orchestration. And this is where the song gets its build from. This is how we kind of build it all up, and then we release and come back down.
If it tells me all you know
See, now the strings have backed off quite a lot.
By the way as the river flows, I don't suppose
What a line.
it's meant for
There's our sharp 11 again. Our Lydian dominant.
Oh,
Ooh, and the melody note.
come and go.
Ooh, now it's on the minor chord.
They come and go.
Nick Drake only gave us 3 albums in his lifetime. He recorded this when he was 20 years old. It came out in 1969, and he passed away, unfortunately, at the age of 26 in 1974. He struggled with depression his whole life. It's obviously a tragedy, and I think what's perhaps more tragic is, from his own perspective, he thought he was a failure because none of the 3 albums he released were commercial successes at the time. They were all kind of failures. And so from his own perspective, that's what he amounted to. And it's just so sad because, you know, it took a decade or more later before people started attributing, you know, him as an influence. And then the song that you probably know, if you know any Nick Drake songs, actually was featured in 1999 in a Volkswagen commercial, of all things. The song Pink Moon from the album Pink Moon. So if you do know any Nick Drake, that sounded familiar. I know that it's something I've heard before and I didn't realize who it was. Thankfully, over time, Nick's music has developed much more of a following, and one of the reasons I just wanted to talk a little bit about it is because it's a recent discovery for me, and I just think it's absolutely incredible. And if I can in any way help more people discover it, then you know, that's kind of the whole point. So I wanted to cover that for you today to maybe introduce you to Nick Drake, or if you're already a fan, maybe to talk a little bit about what I think makes at least this song so incredible. But there's so much more to go through, and maybe we'll have to do that in a future video. So thank you so much for watching this video. Go check out Nick Drake, and we will see you in the next one.